We play and call it work.
Matthew and Tarik here from MiniWarGaming.com, and it's time for another Space Marine review video. By this point, you've probably seen a few. If you haven't, they're on our website. We're going through all the stuff in the codex that we can cram into a short video series. This is video number 7. We're covering the units right now. We've already covered the HQ and troop choices. Now, today, we'll start with the elites. I think it's going to take us a full video just to do the elites because there is a lot of stuff in there. There's been stuff moved into there. And then we'll continue with this discussion, probably going to the fast attack and heavy support at the link below in the MiniWarGaming vault. So we have a couple new additions to the elite section. Yeah. The command squad and the honor guard. Yes. Because they used to be in the HQ section, not as choices necessarily.
As free, they didn't take up any slots.
Yeah, it's like for every captain you can do this or whatever. So now they're elite choices. Now once again, where they are only matters if you're doing a combined arms detachment or allied detachment, something like that. Yeah. If you're doing the Gladius Strike Force, who cares where they are? Because
the formation tells you.
The formation tells you what to do. Okay. It doesn't really care about troop choices, HQ choices, heavy support. So that's only important there. But that is interesting that you can now, bring command squad as an elite choice. Yeah. So that's both a good thing and a bad thing. Good if you just wanted to bring like a tech marine and a command squad. Yeah. But bad if you wanted other elite choices instead. Yeah. So because there are lots of competition in the Space Marine Codex for elite choices.
Yes. Yeah.
There's lots of good choices here. So let's go through these. Okay. What has changed with the command squad besides the fact that it goes in the elite choices?
They've been reduced by 10 points.
The end. What's been changed with the honor guard?
No change whatsoever except for elite choice.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Like I said before, a lot of the changes in the Space Marine Codex are all in the kind of the strike force. Yes. All those formations. And then war gear and all that kind of stuff too. But the command squad does not have access to the heavy weapons. The honor guard does not have access to the heavy weapons. So that doesn't really change anything.
Which kind of makes sense, I guess. In a way.
Sure, whatever. Yeah. Whatever. Anybody can,
whatever. Argue either, yeah.
Centurion Assault Squad. It's been a couple changes here. Some interesting changes. I wonder what their thoughts are. But what are those changes looking like?
Well, the squad has been reduced by 25 points, so 5 points per model.
But
the stats, there are 2 stats, one for the veteran sergeant and one for a normal sergeant.
Yeah, so before you just had the sergeant with the extra leadership, extra attack. Now you have to pay for that.
Now you have to pay for that.
So you've had a points reduction, but also a bit of a power reduction because you've lost that extra attack and extra leadership, with which an assault squad, that's something. Yeah. It's just one less attack, so it's not too big a deal, and you can always buy back the veteran sergeant. I guess it makes sense. I'm not sure about the full fluff behind the Centurions. I know like a Terminator will always be leadership 9 because only veterans get to be Terminators. But I guess Centurions, anybody can just hop into one of those suits.
Yeah, because it's like an exoskeleton.
Yeah, and they can just drive one of those around and siege drill and take down buildings and stuff like that. Any other major changes with the assault squad, the Centurion assault squad?
No other changes.
Yeah.
No other changes.
So moving on to the Vanguard veteran squad.
So they don't take their melee equipment from the melee war gear list. They have their own list, and the reason for that is because the war gear is cheaper in this list.
So they've been buffed because they're now cheaper to take all those close combat weapons.
And the whole squad contains, so it's not just like the sergeant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they are able to more specialize for their role.
Yeah. And so it's just an overall points reduction once again, which seems to be a lot of the updates that Games Workshop is doing to their codexes, is reducing points so that you can fit more into an army, which I don't know if that's a model selling strategy or if it's just because they actually feel that the game will play better that way. Yeah. I'm not quite sure.
Can be argued either way.
Hey, I'm sure nobody complains when they're the player of the army. Yeah. It's like, hey, everything's cheaper. I get to bring more stuff. So then we go into the Sternguard.
Yes.
And what's changed with them?
They've been reduced by 10 points. Oh, I forgot to add for the Vanguard veteran squad. When you take a relic blade, that's been reduced by 10 points. That's kind of like a...
So overall,
essentially
cheaper upgrades.
Much. And the Sternguard veteran squad have been reduced by 10 points, and their veteran sergeant is able to take a similar... It's a similar sort of thing that the Vanguard Veteran Squad has with regard to its melee equipment.
So they're slightly cheaper.
Cheaper war gear.
And then, of course, the other change is that they have access to the heavy weapons. 2 veterans, even if you're only a 5-man squad, can take an item from special weapons or heavy weapons.
Yeah.
So you could, in a 5-man squad of Sternguard, bring 2 grav cannons.
Yes.
So, and that's going to be the thing. I know you might be tired of hearing about grav weapons, but grav weapons are pretty powerful.
Grav weapons, yeah.
Yeah, they're the answer to a lot of problems that are out there.
Like monstrous creatures.
Like monstrous creatures or gargantuan creatures.
Yes.
Because it's not poison. It still works just the same as it did before. And so being able to bring a 5-man squad of Sternguard,
yeah,
even if you don't drop pod them in, you just kind of plop them on the table. And they've got 2 grav cannons.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like obviously
with grav amps as well.
With grav amps,
which means
yeah.
that you're rerolling wounds.
Yeah, and so obviously, you know, your Centurion Devastators and Devastators themselves might be better platforms for those weapons, but it's just the fact that you have more ways to get them.
Yes, yeah.
So if you really wanted to, and I think, yeah, when you combine that with the one formation, that gives them all preferred enemy against a chosen target.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And all of a sudden the grav cannons have preferred enemy. Now that only really helps for hitting, which you already have another 100 ways to reroll your hitting with your tactical and devastator doctrines. So I'm not sure if that's really a good combo right there. I still think you're going to see most of them being drop potted in with combi flamers or combi meltas to kind of be a glass hammer and take out a hard target and then die.
And then die.
Yeah, that's what they usually do. As long as they get their target, though, that's usually worth the points.
Good. Sort of suicide
especially now that they've been reduced in points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so 2 can take that. Because every model can take the combis. 2 of them can take special weapons. So you could have 2 grav guns in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be powerful. Dreadnoughts. Now, we've seen some changes to the Dreadnoughts. I think the major change is that they're now in squadrons. Yes. So Dreadnought's Venerable, Ironclad.
Yeah, and they've been separated. So, yeah, there's been a squad. They can now be taken in squadrons, and the normal Dreadnought has been set. Before, the Venerable Dreadnought used to be an upgrade for the normal Dreadnought. Now it's a separate choice.
Which may affect some wording and formations, but so far what I've seen, the formation says can take Dreadnoughts, Venerable Dreadnoughts, or Ironclad Dreadnoughts, the Demi Company. So that's not... being separated, I'm not sure why they decided to do that when they amalgamated the captains and Terminator captains and things like that. Then all of a sudden they take the Dreadnought and they separate it into 2 entries. And it's exactly the same as before. Yeah. There's no points difference in the upgrades. It's just 25 points more.
Yeah, I think it's because they didn't want any confusion with people thinking that you could take 2 normal Dreadnoughts and 1 Venerable Dreadnought in 1 unit. But like you say, I mean, that can easily
specify that.
Yeah, you can specify that in the list.
Yeah, because there's plenty of upgrades that say all units must, or all models take it, or any can take it. So yeah. But having units of Dreadnoughts should be interesting because
But they don't get any bonus and we'll probably talk about this later on. They don't get any bonus for reaching.
No, but having a unit of walkers can be a pain for your opponent because it both is an advantage and a disadvantage. It's a disadvantage if you're just if somebody's got like a bajillion, like a Necron warrior squad, rapid firing in 20 or 30 shots. Yeah. If they're on 1 Dreadnought, they might overkill it. Yes. But by having a unit of Dreadnoughts, that can then pass to the next one. But then if you have, like, say, Venerable Dreadnoughts, you have to resolve, when there's a squad of them, you have to resolve each hit one at a time before you move on to the next one. And so with the ability with the Venerable to have you re-roll the penetrating hits, there could be ways that you can kind of finagle some extra wounds soaking upping. Yeah. I'm not quite... all it really does is says that in a Demi Company, you could have up to 3 Dreadnoughts. Okay. That's really what the advantage is that when it says just 0 to 1, that's units. Yeah. And so you could fit 3 of them. So that's kind of a way to fit them in. It allows you to bring more and only take up 1 slot. Yeah. So that's a major advantage. And in a fight, it's nice because then 1 Dreadnought gets in and the other one's behind them. Typically, it's hard to get them all in. But because
because now as a squad, you don't need line of sight because they're all in 1 squad. So they've got their drills.
They ignore each other. Yeah. For firing, when you're firing, you don't have to worry about intervening models from the other Dreadnoughts.
So you can put them in a Congo line; they'll still be able to.
And they'll be fine. Yeah. So. There's advantages and disadvantages to it. Overall, you have an option, which is nice. Like, you could just bring one. You could bring 3 units of one if you're trying to do things like that, or you can bring 1 unit of 3. So whatever you want to do, and it's nice that they give that option.
Yeah.
It just allows you to field more of them if that's what you want to do. So you could do your Gladius Strike Force and just have more Dreadnoughts than you could before. So, but other than that, they haven't really changed, nor has the Venerable or the Ironclad, from what we can see, unless we're missing something. But all that happens to be the same. So, Legion of the Damned. Something that we don't see too often.
No change except for now they can't take grav weapons.
Any of them. Grav pistols. They have access to heavy weapons, but it has the little asterisk that says
no more.
No Legion of the Damned. So, sorry, Legion of the Damned. You don't get any grav weapons whatsoever. And I think that's it, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So then we have our two, probably the biggest things for, or the most popular things that you see in the elite slots, which are the Terminators.
Yes.
So you have the regular Terminator squad and the Assault squad. Have we seen any changes in these ones?
Well, there have been a reduction. They've been reduced by 25 points.
So they're much cheaper.
Yeah, before they were 200, now 175.
And each additional one is 5 points cheaper.
It's 5 points cheaper.
And that can add up.
Yes.
Especially if you're bringing like 10, 15 of them, which is totally doable in an army. Or you're bringing that one formation that's three to 5 squads. All of a sudden, that adds up to a lot more points.
Yeah, 5 squads, that's 100 points.
Yeah, totally can be.
Yeah, you can grab another tactical squad with a couple of upgrades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. Now, one thing you pointed out when we were looking at it, though.
Yes.
For the Assault Squad, it's a reduction in points, but the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield upgrades have been increased.
By 5 points.
Which actually evens out.
Yeah.
That the Thunderhammer Storm Shield Terminators are the same price as they were before.
Yeah.
The Lightning Claw Terminators are cheaper.
Yes.
And the Thunderhammer Storm Shield are more. So I guess they figured that the Thunderhammer Storm Shield was already strong enough. Which I agree with. They're
they are
quite powerful.
Very powerful.
And the Lightning Claw ones needed a bit of a buff, so they just made them a little cheaper.
Cheaper, yeah.
But that's all that they changed for them, is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, we've got time, so I thought it would take a lot longer to go through the elite slots. I forgot just how few things had actually changed. So let's continue.
Yeah.
And we'll see how much of the fast attack stuff that we can cover in this video as well.
Yeah.
And then in the next video, we'll cover the heavy and the Lords of War.
There's only one.
Just the one, Marneus Calgar, of course.
I thought
Chapter
we were
men.
going to keep it like a surprise.
Oh, no. It's the Codex, they already know.
Yeah, that's true.
So it starts with the Assault Squad. Now, the interesting thing about the Assault Squad, Devastator Tactical Squad, is they've basically stripped them all down, and they're all the same points.
Yeah.
So when you don't upgrade them,
They're essentially a tactical squad.
They're essentially a tactical squad, except they have a chainsword and bolt pistol.
Yeah.
But you can replace...
You can replace it because you can get a... I don't know what it says.
I'm just trying to see. I'm pretty sure it says...
Like, for example, tactical squad,
Actually,
70
no, it
points,
can't.
you get bolters. Devastator squad, 70 points, you get bolters.
And Assault squads at 70 points, you get a chainsword.
Chainsword and bolt pistol.
Yeah, I thought maybe it would allow you to replace the chainsword with a bolter.
And that's without the jump packs, like completely naked.
Yeah, they don't even come with jump packs.
Yeah.
So before, you'd reduce their points if you dropped their jump packs.
Yes.
And now they just made them cheaper. I think that's cool because it kind of sets that precedent that you could just, have all these. Because your Demi company, 3 squads of tacticals, 1 Devastator, 1 Assault. Technically, they all could pretty much look identical.
Yeah.
Except chainsword on the Assault guys.
Yeah.
So you're not forced to bring them as Devastators. You're not forced to bring them as Assault.
Yeah.
But of course, a lot of times you'll upgrade them to be that way.
Yeah.
So now they start default without, and you have to pay the points to give them jump packs.
Yes,
which works
when
out
you
the
do
same.
when you do pay the jump pack upgrade, it turns out to be the same.
Exactly the same price.
That's exactly what you said.
All right.
Yeah.
And then we have this Eviscerator thing. What is all about that?
The Eviscerator is a new, as far as I know, a new melee weapon, and it's strength ×2, unwieldy. This is just going off the top of my head.
Two-handed. I got it right here.
Two-handed. Okay, you got it.
So it's two-handed, armor bane, and unwieldy.
Yes.
So it's a special power fist. So they have to exchange their bolt pistol and chainsword.
Yeah.
So it's a two-handed weapon. It's unwieldy.
Yeah, it's a gigantic chainsword.
But it's armor bane.
It's armor bane.
And you can, for every 5 models in the unit, 1 of them can have that.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think that's a good option?
I think it is a good tank hunter option. So against vehicles or monstrous creatures, or mainly against vehicles, that would be a useful tool.
Yeah, because otherwise a Power Fist would do better.
Yeah,
Because it's got the same stat line without being two-handed.
pretty much. Yeah.
Although, mind you, Power Fist is a specialist, so it doesn't get the extra attack either.
Yeah.
So this is essentially a Power Fist that has an armor
That
bane.
has armor bane. Yeah. So it's more of a. But why wouldn't you take Melta bombs?
Well, you could do that as well.
I guess you can.
The Sergeant can
have
take...
two. Instead of just Melta bombs, then you get the Eviscerator.
Yeah, because you can only take Melt Bombs on the Sergeant.
Yeah.
So you only have access to one of them in the assault phase.
Yeah. So if the Sergeant goes down in a challenge, you still have your Eviscerator.
Or two.
Or two.
Yeah, so essentially... But now the only problem is the Eviscerators are more expensive than a Power Fist. They're 25 points as opposed to 15. So you could have a 15-point Power Fist on the Sergeant, and then you could have two Eviscerators, which are essentially a little more expensive Power Fists. So it gives you access to a lot of power weapons in there, whereas before you didn't have access to that many.
Yeah.
So I guess that's nice. So if you just look at them as nothing else as just extra Power Fist options, so you can have a squad of Assault Marines with 3 Power Fists, 2 of them Armor Bane, and you give the Sergeant Melta Bombs. And that's essentially...
That's a very
it's like having 3 Power Fists, except not quite, because he loses the extra attacks.
Yeah.
But gives him the option.
Well, I mean, against vehicles, which is probably what you'd kit them out for, you don't really need, Initiative 1 isn't really a problem because you're automatically hitting.
Yeah.
And they don't hit back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because vehicles don't have arms.
Well, unless they're Dreadnoughts.
Unless they're Dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they have lots of arms.
Then they have, yeah.
But other than that, the Assault Squad has remained relatively the same, but I guess that feels like a lot of changes. But I think on the table, the big changes are the Eviscerators. Because everything else is like the same thing. It's just you start without and get your jetpacks rather than starting with and losing them.
Yeah.
But that works out about the same. Scout Bike Squad.
Again, as with normal scouts, their weapon skill and ballistic skill have been increased by 1.
Has their points increased because of that?
No,
So
those same points.
So that's all that changed, is they got a buff.
Yes.
Great. So maybe people will actually use them. Because I see bikes used, but scout bikes...
Scout bikes, I've never seen.
Well, they don't have access to as many weapons as the regular bikes. Like the bikes, of course, have access to your grab weapons again.
Right.
Whereas the scout bikes were not so much about that. But the scout bikes were infiltrators, and they had scout move.
Yeah.
And so they could...
They're more of like this harassment unit.
Yeah, and they have access to the grenade launcher, which I think is a strength 6. Oh, it says a rapid fire strength 6 blast. Or a strength 6 crack grenade, but... Yeah, maybe. Oh, now they have access to cluster mines. Was that something in the other codex?
Yeah, they did have cluster mines before as well.
I just never seen anybody use those before, so I was totally unfamiliar with them.
I think that's why they added that as a restriction for the...
You're required, if you bring scout bikes in this one formation, you have to
use
bring
cluster mines.
Because nobody ever
try
took
them out, guys.
All cluster mines are is that you choose a piece of terrain and that's dangerous terrain for your opponent for the game.
Yeah.
Because there's cluster mines in it.
Yes. Mines are
That's
dangerous.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
But forcing everybody to take them. So then our bike squads. Do we see any buffs or debuffs there?
Yeah, the attack bike got a point reduction. And, that's in the next page. It's a reduction by 5 points. But the bike squad itself, no change.
Yeah, it doesn't have access to anything new that we can see because it already had access to the grab weapons.
Yeah.
Because they can take special weapons when the grab... Yeah, so you basically would see 2 grav guns because up to 2 bikers could take special weapons.
Yeah.
So you see 2 grav weapons and maybe a grav pistol on the sergeant because they're a relentless platform, being bikes, so they could drive around and fire. So you could bring a squad of 3 and have all 3 of them have grav weapons.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
It is cool.
Now you throw on a couple more to go out front of that so that you don't lose grab weapons as soon as one of them dies because they actually aren't that survivable. They are toughness 5, 3+ save, but only
lots of AP3 weapons.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's plenty of and then you jank, but then you lose your ability to really be any good at shooting.
Precisely.
And attack bikes once again haven't changed.
Yeah, except for that point reduction.
Yeah, 40 instead of 45.
Yeah.
Land speeders. We're into the land speeder storm.
Yes.
Has a land speeder.
They are now a fast attack choice.
What were they before?
I think they were a dedicated transport.
Only dedicated transports.
So now they're a fast attack choice, and they've been reduced by 5 points. Their weapon skill has been increased by 1.
To represent that it's being run by scouts.
Yeah. And the assault cannon upgrade has decreased by 5 points, which is good. Okay.
Sure.
Average.
So they're cheaper.
Yeah.
And that's just replace the heavy bolter with an assault cannon, but most likely you'll probably see people replace it with the multi-melta.
Do you think so?
Well, this is having that extra multi-melta shot.
Yeah.
Assault cannon's all right, but you can bring now that they're a choice, you could just bring 2 or 3 of them and bring the multi-meltas. Now, the scouts, do scouts have access to them still as dedicated transports? They do.
Yeah.
So you'll most likely see them more as dedicated transports anyways, just scouts running around, if they bring it at all. What about the actual land speeders?
The land speeders have been reduced by 5 points, and the heavy bolter, heavy flamer, and multi-melta have all been decreased, or their points upgrade has been reduced by 5 points.
So essentially a 10-point reduction, because you're most likely going to be taking one of those.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's going from 60 points to 50 points.
Yes.
And that can add up.
Yeah, and then if you decide to take an assault cannon, the assault cannon's points cost has been reduced by 10 points.
Now, it actually has received a bonus if it has at least 3 in the squadron. It has the anti-grav upwash special rule.
Yeah.
And that is, if the unit includes 3 land speeders, it can move an additional 6 inches when it flat outs.
Which is cool.
Gives them a bit more maneuverability. Yeah. Not something that you're going to see the land speeders want to use too often because they're a gun platform.
Well, if you take it in the formation, in the whirlwind formation, use them as spotters.
But they can't flat out if they spot.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, but it's nice to have that option.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people bring 3 land speeders in a squadron already.
Yes.
So why not have that? Do we have anything for the land speeder storm? No, there's nothing there if they have at least 3. Oh wait, they can't be squadrons of 3 anyways. They're individual models. It's the land speeders that can be brought as a squad. Then we have our rhinos, our razorbacks, and our drop pods, which are now fast attack choices. Which has come in line with some of the other codexes.
Yes.
And which is nice because if you want to bring an allied detachment to get that free drop pod, you can bring them not as dedicated transports, which means you can put stuff in them.
Yes.
That can't take them as dedicated transports.
And I was mentioning this to you yesterday,
the Centurions.
The Centurions.
Yeah.
Because before you had to take an ally, like if you wanted to bring them in a drop pod, you had to ally them with, for example, Space Wolves, which is what I would do. And I was like,
you got to pay for all that.
But now on your own. But now, yeah,
you're fine. If you're bringing, once again, you still have to ally them if you're bringing the Gladius Strike Force, because there's no way to get the Rhino, Razorback, or Drop Pod.
Yeah.
Just bring those.
Yeah.
But now it's easier. You can ally them with regular Space Marines and get those in there. Or if you're doing a combined arms attachment, you can just bring a Drop Pod as a fast attack choice and stick your Centurions inside of there, or whatever else it is you want to try to put in there. You can only fit 3 Centurions in there because they're very bulky.
Yes.
But
3 is the base, sort of.
It could still work, yeah. Especially if you bring the assault guys with like their flamers. So even though they're not assaulting, they could come out and lay down a lot of punishment right away.
Yeah.
But have anything else changed with the rhinos, razorbacks, or drop pods?
No.
Points?
No.
Anything?
Nothing.
And then our last fast attack is the Storm Talon gunship.
The Storm Talon gunship did have quite a bit of changes.
Like what?
The Skyhammer missile launcher replacement has been reduced by 10 points. The Twin Link Lascan has been reduced by 10 points. 15 points, my bad. And then the Typhoon missile launcher has been reduced by 15 points.
So just overall making the unit cheaper.
Yes.
Because you're most likely going to be taking one of those options, replacing the Twin Linked Heavy Bolter with one of those.
Yeah. And then they also have the Vector Afterburner special rule now. And that, so essentially, when they move out, if they move out when zooming, flat out, then they get an extra 6 inches, and then when they're hovering, they get +1 to their Jink cover save.
So much more survivable.
Yeah.
So much more maneuverable and much more survivable. And cheaper weapon upgrades.
Yeah. But you have to be in that completely forgot the word that I was about to say.
Flight mode.
Yeah, mode.
Yeah, you don't get the +1 Jink when you're up in the air. It's only when you're down in hover mode. So that's the fast attack and the elite choices. As you can see, individually, there's not like huge changes, but when you add all those up, there's been a lot of points reductions, and so when you're building your army, you're going to have access to more stuff. And then, you know, having access to more grab weapons is probably the other big thing that we're seeing here. And then some slight point, like ballistic skill, weapon skill adjustments, things like that. So overall, there's not one thing I would say is like the change, but you add those all up and it can give a lot of buffs to the Space Marine army. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing the next video in the MiniWarGaming Vault. We're going to talk about the heavy support choices as well as the Lord of War, Marneus Calgar.
Yeah.
So that'll be at the link in the video description below in the Vault. Of course, if you're not a Vault member, you can still click it, get a free 7-day trial. You probably know the drill by now. It's absolutely free. You can cancel anytime. If you don't even cancel and you forget to, and we charge you, you got 30-day full money back guarantee. We know you're going to like it. So that's why we keep offering this free trial. So you can get access to all the videos from this series for free by getting that trial, because they'll all be out within the next 7 days. So go ahead, click the link, watch the next video, and happy wargaming.